Welcome to She's a Full-On Monet, a digital lifestyle magazine for women. Every week, our editor-in-chief, Kelly Castillo, along with Megan Block and special guests, participate in a deep dive discussion about recent articles and topics we have covered. We invite you to become part of our community where everyone's welcome.
Okay, we're back. I think this is episode 9. Is this episode 9? Wow.
Yeah, right.
every week I have to ask you because I can't believe it's been 9 episodes already.
For once, something in our life, we're like ahead of the game or on time or whatever, not like catching up. So
no, that's incredibly unusual for me, actually.
Right. One thing we're killing it at.
One thing, just one. Thank you guys for joining us. This is She's a Full-On Monet, and I'm your host, Kelly. I have, as always, with me, Megan.
Hello.
How are you doing, Megan? What's going on with you?
I've just been like doing the usual mom routine. We went to a park. I had to go to 2 separate Target drive-ups because they ran out of something I needed, and just normal mom stuff. It's super lame, but also my life.
Yes.
I went to Orange County yesterday, which was really cool because Orange County is my hometown. I haven't been down back home in like 400 something days. I haven't seen my dad in person. Well, I've seen him in between, but it was like very far away. And it was just nice to go back and like see things that I recognize and be home. And like, it was good for the soul, even if it was just for a minute. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
That's nice.
What have you been doing?
We've been really crazy with meetings with builders and engineers and contractors because we have a bunch of construction projects going on right now. So, I had a meeting at 7:30 this morning and all day yesterday. So I am a little bit burnt out on talking to contractors and talking to designers and I don't want to talk about construction anymore. I want to take a break, but we are going up to San Francisco this weekend, just to kind of hang out in the city, maybe do some shopping now that things are opening back up again.
That's nice.
So,
that'll be nice.
Yeah. Now that we're both fully vaccinated, we feel a little more comfortable going back to traveling. And we used to go places like every month. We haven't been doing that. So this will be our first little trip like that. And I'm super excited.
Are you at all like anxious about it?
I'm not. No, I'm not. Now that and I feel like it's such a huge relief to be vaccinated because I was always so concerned for his health. But now that we're vaccinated, and I feel like maybe not the majority of people are, but a good percentage of people are. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's just a huge relief. I don't feel like it's as risky, and we're not flying commercial, so I don't have to worry about like sitting in a plane with 300 people or something. Going through the airport. I know my daughter and her fiance got COVID in the airport during the holidays. Yeah. During the holidays, which is crazy because, he's a fireman and EMT. So he had been treating people with COVID, did not get it, followed all of the protocol, PPE, all of that. And then they came home to see family for the holidays, even though we saw them from a distance and like they didn't stay.
You followed all the rules.
They didn't stay in our home because we were so nervous about it, all of it. And then flying back home to Georgia, they got COVID in the airport. And thankfully it was a very mild case and they were totally fine. But it's just now airports kind of freak me out. They're germ zones. Yeah,
I know. I've noticed that I'm fully vaccinated too. And I just noticed that like we're going to have to retrain the brain to not see things as like freaky, I feel like even if we were all vaccinated, I would still see a crowd of a lot of people. My brain, my first reaction is to go, oh my gosh, like, startled,
it's going to take a while to go back
to get back
normal, to feel comfortable, like hugging and shaking hands and like sitting in a concert, sitting in a movie
just
theater.
Like being close to someone and not wanting to like be freaked out by that, like I'm so used to like, hello, personal space, hello, pandemic.
6
and now I'm like,
we used to go to concerts and be like pressed against other people.
Each other.
Or, even like amusement parks, everything like that. So close together, standing so close in line. And now
I have to retell myself, okay, you're going to be okay. You're fine. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, that'll be nice. That'll be a nice little getaway for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about, a topic I thought was really interesting when I saw the article. One of our writers had suggested this article. And when I read the headline, I thought, oh, I've got to read what she wrote because I'm not 100% sure I get the concept. But once I got it, I think it's fantastic. So we are talking today about how to be a human being and not a human doing. And this is a tough one for me. I have a really hard time not being productive. Alex says I'm a hummingbird because I can't be still. Even if I'm watching a movie or something, I'm also doing something on my phone or reading a book at the same time. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I'm always go, go, go. So this is, I think, important for me, personally, but I think it's important probably for everybody in this culture that we're living in right now. We really glorify being busy. We glorify hustle culture. We glorify, always being productive. And I think for everyone's mental health, we kind of need to take a step away from that.
I agree. I'm the same way. I love the hummingbird reference too, because like I've never heard that, but I'm totally that way. It's like everyone will be chilling and watching a movie and I'll be like folding clothes. And it's like, why? You should just lay down and watch the movie, like enjoy yourself. But no, my brain is just, well, this is a moment where I can get things done quiet, like in this space, it's like and you're missing life and it's really sad. And so it's something that I'm at the moment currently working on. And when I heard we wanted to talk about this topic and we were going to be talking about it, I was like, yes, because it's something that it's a constant reminder to be in that moment and enjoy life and be a human being and not just constantly be doing the one thing or the next thing. It's about stopping sometimes and just being in that moment. It's so hard to do, but also when you do it, like when I see people do it, I'm jealous. I'm like, how can you just lay there with all this stuff laying around to do? Like how? My husband's amazing at being a human being. He's so great at it. Human doing, not so much. I have to actually like tell him to, it's not like he'll look around and go, this place is messy, I should clean it. He'll totally be like, I'm tired, I need to take a nap. Like, I don't know how it happens. So
yeah, I know exactly. And I, even when we're entertaining, if we're having a party or a dinner party or something, I'm walking around, I'm picking up trash, I'm picking up dishes, I'm straightening up. And I've had guests actually be like, can you just sit? You're actually making me nervous. Like I feel like I need to either get up and help you or something. So if you could just sit and so we could all just enjoy our time together. And it makes me realize, wow, okay, yeah,
I also want to add that you have hired staff to do the things you are doing. I've been there. I've been to one of these parties and you are cleaning while you have other people who were there too and being paid to serve and clean. And
I know.
I get it. Like you see a napkin and you want it to be in place and you're hosting a nice party. It's just ingrained in your DNA to do so. I do the same thing. And it does make people really weird. They look like, should I be cleaning too? I don't know what to do. She's cleaning.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll preface it by saying that between my husband and I, there are 7 kids and 3 grandkids. And I mean, I had 4 kids in a span of 7 years and your to-do list is never done. And you always feel like there's something you're supposed to be cleaning, doing, putting away, tidying up. In those years when they're small and aren't participating in that process, it's a never ending thing. You're always playing catch up. So I think that just kind of got ingrained in my head that I should be catching up when I have a moment, because it's like, as soon as the, youngest one would go down for a nap, I would run around the house and try to straighten up, knowing it's just going to get trashed again that same 100%. Afternoon. Yeah.
That's my life.
So I think it's in my head that if there's downtime, I need to be straightening up, but I'm getting so much better at that. I have to say, I'm getting much better at it. And some of these tips that we have today, hopefully can help everybody get better at that. Cause I know it can't just be me and you. It's gotta be everybody.
It's everyone with the child, because you're right. The minute that we have the downtime, we see it as time to catch up. And that honestly doesn't ever stop. And it's sad because it's just like, once they've left the nest, you're still seeing that downtime. Sometimes it's time to catch up,
Yeah. I don't have children living at home full time with me anymore. And I'm still doing it. I'm picking up dog toys. I'm, just cleaning up after myself and my husband and all the animals in this house. There are so many. So I'm still doing it. And I'm getting better because not because I'm training myself to get better, but because I'm simply running out of things that need to get done in any given moment. So hopefully the forced relaxation from running out of things to do will help me make that a new normal for me.
That's good to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm currently in a unique situation where we live with my in-laws, and so it's not my actual space. And I have two kids that are young, but generally kind of old enough to do definitely more. But I mean, as they rightfully have the right to, they want their space a certain way. My in-laws do. And so I'm constantly walking around cleaning because it's constantly dirty. And I feel like if I were to lay down and watch a show or read a book or do something while it's dirty, that's just being
Of course.
disrespectful to
It's
my in-laws when I
yeah.
should be cleaning. But at the same time, I'm also a human being and I clean 90% of the time anyway. I do deserve to relax. It's like, when do I find that time when I'm living in a space that's not my own? I don't get a right to look at the space and go, okay, it doesn't have to be done right now because it's
It's not your space and
not my
it's
space.
right. That
So
makes perfect sense.
I've been living this problem for the last couple of years, and luckily we'll be moving soon, and I am okay with having it be a little bit messy. But at the moment, it's like I don't, it's hard. It's really really hard, especially when you have young ones and you just want to chill. You don't have a choice. So I'll be
Yeah.
learning these tips as best as I can apply them when they can be applied.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first tip on the list is to stop multitasking. And this one, I actually don't have. I multitask to an extent, but not overly so, because I have learned through the years of trying to balance having small kids at home and working. I'm working from home. I have learned that when I'm trying to do too many things at once is when I make mistakes. I make costly mistakes. And some of the things that I'm in charge of for our home and our household are things that are very detail oriented, dealing with the contractors, vendors, investments, banking, things that contracts, so many contracts every day. And so I can't afford to make those kind of mistakes. And I know for myself that when I'm doing a task, I need to sit down and I need to do that task from start to finish. Because if I try to do other things at the same time, even listening to a podcast, listening to the radio sometimes can be too much of a distraction for me. I really need to kind of focus when I'm doing something that detail oriented to make sure that I don't make mistakes. That took me some time to learn, but I have learned that I have to do a task from beginning. If I stop and say I'll go back to it, is when I forget things, I forget where I left off, I don't get back to it, something like that. So I have learned not to multitask. But when it comes to relaxing is when I have a problem with multitasking. If I'm walking the dogs, I usually am listening to a podcast on my headphones, or a book on tape or something like that. If I'm watching a movie, I'm on my iPad or my phone. So relaxation, multitasking is a problem for me, but task multitasking, not so much.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I watched the show Parks and Recreation. A lot of people used to watch it. There's
Yeah.
a guy named Ron Swanson on it, and he had a saying like, "Don't half-ass a few things, whole-ass one thing." And
Yeah.
it's true because when you try and do too much at once, then things fall through the cracks easier. Like I just, even when you feel like you're fully prepared, and like sometimes like I'll have a list and I'll be like, oh, while I'm doing this, I can do this. And, like, and it's like, no, just focus on one thing, get the task done. It is true. It's like when I'm walking their neighbor dog or something like that. Um, when I'm walking my in-laws dog, I'll put headphones in too. But it's like, and then I'll be like, man, I wish I like had time to like listen to the birds. And it's like, I had the time. My brain just went, oh, you have this, you can do this and this at the same time.
Yeah.
You just have to like be able to just fully focus on one thing and be in that moment for that one thing, because you'll have the most success if you just focus on that one thing. Multitasking is hard, especially, you're right. Downtime multitasking is also a thing. I'll also be guilty of like playing on my phone while the TV's going, and it's like, why do I need two sets of screen entertainment going at the same time? It's like, because I'm so used to multitasking, my brain just automatically goes there. And I feel like I'm not the only one who does that.
No, I think we all do. I'm used to a lot of information coming at me at once.
Yeah.
So if there's less information coming at me, I start looking around for something else I should be or could be doing. But I had this happen just last week, actually. I was in the kitchen and I was organized once a week. I organizes all of Alex's medications for the week. He takes a lot of prescriptions and a few supplements. So I have this big like case that I separate it by day, times of day. And it's detailed work, but I do it every week. So it's kind of routine to me now. But he had sat down at the kitchen counter and proceeded to have a conversation with me while I was doing it. And the conversation he was having with me was something that I needed to really focus on because he was giving me instructions on how to respond to somebody we're having an issue with. So what I didn't realize until 3 days later is that I had missed one of his prescriptions. So he hadn't taken it for 3 days.
Oh,
And he came to me and he said, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm having this symptom that I used to have. And we looked and I had missed one of his pills. And I mean, thankfully it wasn't something for his like heart or something, but it was enough that he was having uncomfortable symptoms. And I felt horrible. I felt absolutely horrible. But at the same time, I told myself, I said, this was you, because you could have told him, hey, honey, like I'm doing this right now. Give me 5 minutes and I'll be with you. Because I know that's those medications. Some of them are life or death for him. So I can't do anything else at the time that I'm doing that. So that's a problem for me. That was a multitasking fail for sure. And thankfully it wasn't more serious than it was, but for 3 days he had, symptoms. He was trying to figure out what was going on and it was a prescription I missed. So
yeah, ideally we would all want to be Wonder Woman or Superwoman and be able to do it all like 4 things at once, because like, heck, we only have so many hours in the day and we have this impossible to-do list of life. And if we can knock off 4 at once, like, let's do that, but at the same time, no one's coming out a winner when we try to do that. So just like you just proved, I mean, there's more mild parenting fails I do all the time. Like I'll skip a snack, in the morning when they used to go to school. I'll skip putting snack in because I was trying to do 4 things at once in the morning, and her homework didn't go in her folder, and it's like, okay, it's because I didn't really focus on the task at hand and getting it done, or sometimes prepare ahead. I don't know, but it's tricky.
It is.
It's also very natural and human, but there are things that you can do to minimize these situations coming up and be more of a human being than a human doing. So
and I think doing one task from start to finish is a big one. Yep. And if you have to learn what makes you feel that kind of anxiety of needing to do a million things. I have on my computer like, I don't know, 20 tabs open, but those are sites that I need to access every single day. And it's tedious for me to sign back in every single day. So I just leave the tabs open. I group them, which I just learned how to do like a month ago. It's very cool.
Cool. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So I have all my email accounts in one group, all the stuff for the site on one group, and other like investment stuff in one group. So I only open the group I'm working on and then I close it again. So they're not in my face. But for some people, having multiple tabs open is very, very stressful and gives them anxiety. And I think you just have to kind of learn what works for you when it comes to that kind of thing. Just if whatever causes you the least anxiety and helps you to focus on the task at hand, that's what you need to do. Mm-hmm. It's different for everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item is to pay attention to what defines you. And this is very interesting to me because Alex and I were at a company retreat a few years ago now. And we were sitting at a table with a lot of people from his company nationwide that we hadn't met before. And they asked everyone to go around the table, introduce themselves and share what they're most proud of. And every single man at the table said something related to his work, what his team goals were that year, or a big sale he just finished, something like that. Every single woman at the table said her children. And I was just like, blah. Not because I'm not proud of my children.
No,
my children are the greatest thing I've ever done with my life. But
what else?
There's got to be something.
There should have been those rules set aside. Like you cannot talk about work or children. People would have been like,
what do I say? Yeah. And I know we all do this. We introduce ourselves and say what we do for a living. Or if like, I know I do this, or I did for 20 plus years of my life. I introduced myself instead of even with my name by saying I'm so-and-so's mom.
No, I don't do that. But I do notice that when I get together with other moms or other parents, all I do is talk about kid stuff or talk about parenting. Like it totally defines the conversation a lot. Although Yeah, but if I'm in a school setting, totally like, oh, I'm Emma's mom, because it's just easier. It's like,
Yeah.
the
Because
young
I mean,
kids,
they're
the
not
young
probably,
kids say their TikTok handle. We talk about being like so and so's parent.
and
That's what it is.
out of all of the parent friends that I have from all of the sports and schools and everything else, I could tell you all their kids' names and I can't tell you half of their actual first names.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think we need to figure out what defines us as a human being, not just being a mother definitely defines us. Being a wife defines us. What we do for a living defines us. But there has to be something deeper there of who we were before all of those things, and something about ourselves that we're proud of that isn't related to anyone else. If
Yep.
that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And it's hard to do. I'm talking from a parent's perspective for sure, or even like a workaholic's perspective. You have to purposely have a conversation with yourself and admit that you don't really know who you are outside of that. And then have an actual separate conversation and go, well, who do I want to be? What do I want to be? What brings me genuine joy? And then you go do that, because like I personally have, when you have young kids, especially, you had 4 kids in 7 years. That's crazy. If that doesn't define you, I'm sorry. Like, that does define you, because it's 90% of the time you're awake and the time you're alive and doing things. It's like all you do. So as much as you'd like to be able to be like also a salsa dancer, you may not have the time for it. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was barely keeping my head above water. And the things that I had, if somebody asked me, hey, how's your day going? Everything that happened to me that day would have been related to the kids.
All
Like,
related. All
yeah.
kid related. And it sucks. And sometimes that's just like, but I'm sorry, there are times when they go to bed that you can explore the idea of learning an instrument or painting or figuring out what are you about, like, and it and be realistic also with your time frame, like, obviously it's not going to be the same for everybody, but we all need something that is outside of like what's been defining us and the environment that we've been put into. Well, who were you before that? Because
Right. And who I was didn't change. It just got put on the back burner. I
or
mean,
it may
even,
have evolved into somebody different.
yeah,
You
that's
need to
normal too.
explore that and see who that is, because that person who you were before you were a kid, before you had kids, and now they're out of diapers, that was 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
even without kids, you're not going to be the same person you were 5 years ago. So you need to like, reintroduce yourself to yourself for a minute and figure out, well, who am I now and what brings me joy now? Maybe it's hiking, maybe it's painting, maybe it's, trying something that I've always wanted to try. Maybe it's, going on, like, I don't know what it is, but it can't be your children and it cannot be your work as much
And
as
and that's one of the things that we talked about in a past episode was this normalization of having hobbies that aren't monetized and not having to have a side hustle in order to be seen as, a valuable and productive person.
still work. That's still bringing you stress. That's not bringing a smile to your face like it is when you, accomplish something just for you, and no one else needs to, like, you don't need to post about it or make money off of it. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
doing you for you. You don't have to be good at it. You just don't go find who are you, and
Yeah.
you may not like be able to answer that. And the fact that you can't answer that is a sign you need to spend some serious time there, and that's
Yeah.
coming
And
from somebody who really just went through that, and found something that like I found something that brings me joy and I really like it. And I do it just for me and I prioritize that. And it seriously is great and I'm in that moment doing that thing, and it makes me feel more of a human being.
that's so important. And I think a lot of women go through this really difficult adjustment period when their kids grow up and move out of the house, because it does define the majority of your day when they're home.
Yep.
Even when they're teenagers, they need a
You
ride
don't have a
somewhere.
choice. You don't have
No.
a choice at all. Even if you don't want it to be defining your day, they are in your face 24/7.
Yeah. And so we do go through this adjustment of like having to rediscover ourselves when our kids move out. I think it's a really healthy thing. I know for some women, it can really trigger a depression. And I see how that can happen. But I like to see it as an opportunity to revisit who you were before and who you are now. I mean, I know when my kids stopped being really small and like riding in the car with me all day to work, we would I would take them to work with me every day, and we'd be in the car for a long time. So I always had the radio on Radio Disney. And then I changed jobs and I was commuting by myself in the car. And I realized I didn't even know what kind of music I liked anymore.
Or what station played what? You're like,
no, I honestly did not know. And I had to take some time and like listen to different channels and figure out, what do I like? And that was, I mean, I remember I had the radio stations on my car all set to what my husband liked, what my kids listened to.
It was
because
your car.
my car.
Like tuned to everyone else's aesthetic. That's nice.
Yes.
That's very sweet of you, Mom.
Because if I was in the car by myself, I was catching up on phone calls. I was doing,
That's
Bluetooth,
not what
whatever.
you're there for. Yeah. Yeah.
And that I remember really stuck with me because I realized, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I like to listen to. And I figured it out, but it was a wake up call for me. And I think now that my kids are out of the house, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things that I didn't have time to do before and figure out what I want to do. And I know my husband went through that when he, started semi-retirement. He's still not completely retired. He's away at work today, but he spends most of his days at home now. And he tried a bunch of different activities to figure out something to fill up his time because he felt, the way he put it, he would say, I just don't feel relevant anymore.
Yep.
And
you feel like you fulfilled your purpose. Like Woody, after Andy went off to college, he's like, well, what do I do now? It's like, you got to fill your time. And here's a theory I have is that if you don't wait until they're gone, you won't have that like panicked depression. If you start to discover what you're about before they've left the nest, so to speak, you don't have to have that real big moment of like, and you already caught up on some years of like extra happiness, PS. But I feel like people wait until like the nest is empty and they hear the silence and they see the empty room to like force themselves to discover themselves. You don't have to wait.
You don't
do it like now.
I wish that when the kids started to become teenagers and the oldest two had started to leave the house, that was really the time that I had the opportunity to, really kind of dig deeper into my friendships with other women and to, be part of some of the groups that I had seen and wanted to be a part of, but hadn't had the time, or to start a new fitness regime or whatever I wanted to do. And instead of doing that, I kind of, held on tighter to the girls who were still at home. And I wish I hadn't done that, not because I didn't love having that time with them, but because I would have been a more well-rounded person when Gabby left. And I wouldn't have felt kind of so unanchored. Yeah. I don't think I had as hard of a time of it as some people, but it certainly wasn't easy.
Yeah. And now we live in a day and age where also your like social media can sometimes define you. I'm like a mom blogger, mom Instagram, and I see a lot of my friends and a lot of the people I socialize with, like their entire world is wrapped up in their social media presence, and their social media presence is wrapped up in their children. And I just keep thinking, like, when your kids are too old to be photographed and they no longer want to do that, or they're not so cute, like what is going to define you then? And are you going to be okay? And I had a lot of the people that I socialize with are very like theme park oriented. When the theme park shut down, oh my gosh, like their whole existence, like they had major identity crises. And it's like, because you put your whole being into this fake world that isn't real. And so now we live not only like who I am in real life, but who am I in like this social media world, and it's like, I just got tired of it, honestly, that I was just like, I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about the followers. I just want to do what makes me happy. And if you want to follow me, like, there's this thing like, well, who's your audience? Like, I'm my audience now. And if you don't think it's an interesting thing, like you can go follow someone else, but I'm not going to wrap my existence, define who I am, define what is based on my children, what social media is about, like none of that. It's like, what makes you smile? What makes you happy? That's simple. You don't need to overcomplicate it, Exactly.
I think we all need to just find, the key that unlocks our joy and just stay in that place.
And don't worry about what people think.
No. And I have a lot. I mean, I had a personal blog for a long time. I have a lot of friends in the blogging world. And in that world, you end up with a lot of acquaintances that you feel friendly towards, but they're not close friendships. And everything is done online. And you're chasing algorithm, you're chasing numbers. and it becomes such a misrepresentation of your actual life, it can be very disorienting. So I get exactly what you're saying. And I think whatever you guys decide to hold on to as what defines you, just make sure that it's not something completely external of you. Make sure that it's something that actually brings you joy and that is authentic to who you are, and not whatever you're trying to portray.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a weird thing too now. Now we have to think about, like, there's a lot of people whose social media literally defines them now because
Mm-hmm.
it's just so a part of them that it's like, what would you do if it went away? Like, how would you handle life? Like, do you have something else? Like, are you also a painter? Do you have something else that brings you just as much joy as those numbers, those projects, those collaborations do? Because that should not define you either. And it defines a lot of people, and it's kind of freaky.
It's a validation that people are getting externally. And we've become kind of to the point where we just all feed off of it, and it's not great.
No, it's not good. That's a whole nother.
That's a whole other. We could do a whole podcast.
Yeah, that's like a series.
Seriously.
Yeah, that is a whole nother thing that defines people, unfortunately. Not talking about.
No, that's not our topic today. We could dive real deep into that, but that'll be another time. Okay, so the next thing on the list is to finish the list and finish the day. I know you and I are both big on to-do lists. That is something that is very important for both of our everyday lives. My to-do list pretty much never gets finished. I feel like I rewrite it every morning, adding the things from the day before that I didn't finish.
Yeah.
But I have gotten better at prioritizing the list so that I make sure the things that are most important that get done that day do get done. So it doesn't cause me too much stress. I can see how that could really stress someone out, not finishing the list. But for me, it's something it's part of my world. It's never going to be done.
And personal bleed together into one list, or do you have separate ones? Because like I've tried both. I noticed that when they bleed together, the list is like, I might as well be writing like the next big novel. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? This is never going to happen for anyone, even if they knew how to stop time. But then if I separate it, because some of it's you have to do, and then some of it's the stuff that's like you also have to do, but you won't get fired for. So it's like, I don't know whether it's better to separate them from work and personal, or just to throw it all together. But man, sure, write the list and get it done. Good luck.
I have
my eyes. It just seems so impossible.
Wishful thinking, right? I have a long-term to-do list, which are projects that I would like to do or am in the process of doing. That's separate. Okay. If I looked at that every day, I would hyperventilate. It would make
you hurt. Like, you don't just keep moving that over every day.
No, it would hurt my heart. Then I have my daily to-do list, which is a work personal merge. And that's because my work and my personal life are merged. Mm-hmm. It is impossible to separate the two. I also have a lot of stuff on there that are for the kids or for my husband, because I handle everything for everybody. So we don't want to get into that, but that's how my life is. So I have a to-do list that is all encompassing. And then what I do every morning is I transfer yesterday's tasks onto the new sheet, and I add to it what is on the schedule for that day. I don't add in things that get done every day. I don't try to do that to myself. I know what needs to be done. I know the dishwasher needs to be emptied. I know that there's always laundry. I know that, just the daily stuff I don't bother with. It's things that I need to try to accomplish that day, most of which are time sensitive. And then I do have help. So I'm not by myself. Thank the Lord. So then I go down the list and I put an initial next to each thing of who should be responsible for that task for the day, because I can't do everything myself. It's actually not physically possible. So
no, I know. I'm like, dude, I need help. I cannot. Yeah. It is impossible. But there are things that are more like high priority than others. And you just, I've tried all kinds of lists. I love the day designer style where you have to write in, sometimes like what's for dinner, and you get to see a gratitude like that. That's helpful because that's also in my head of like, okay. But then it's just like, it gets too much. Sometimes I'll see like my grocery list is also on my to-do list. It's also because dinner will spark, oh, I have to go to the store. Well, where do I write that down? Are you the one to like type it out or write it out?
I write it out, but it's very neatly written.
Yes.
And if it's not neatly written, I will literally just start it over again. If I start scribbling like side notes, like I'll be on the phone and I'll write side notes on it, someone's phone number, an appointment. And then I look at it and it's messy and that stresses me out. So I rewrite it. That, and it takes a second, but I like having a really clean to-do list.
Yeah, me too.
Not to mention, since I'm not the only one working off of it, if I have like weird phone numbers in the margins and notes to myself, then my assistant will be like, is this something I'm supposed to know what it is or handle this?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does blue 1:30 on Tuesday mean? Like, I don't know what to do with that. So, I do definitely get the to-do list pretty much done every day. Unless we decide things, either we try to do them and they're not going to happen that day for whatever reason, or we decide to deprioritize them and move them to the next day. I also use, I know I've mentioned this before, I use Asana for my personal calendar.
Yeah.
So like appointments that are on Asana, if I have actual appointments for the day, like today's appointment started at 7:30 and the podcast recording and those are not on my to-do list because they're on Asana. So
you don't need to add all the things going on in your life because that will overwhelm more than it will help.
I don't clutter it.
Focus on
these are the tasks for today that need to be handled. And then I look at them and say, which of these tasks must be handled by me? And which of these tasks can be handled by others? And then I go through it and I delegate. And that also gives me a little breathing room because otherwise I probably would hyperventilate. But I handle, anything that is really super sensitive or needs like a phone call where they won't talk to anyone but me. Something, like that, anything financial or investment related. But if it's an errand, if it's, a bill that can be paid online, anything like, I try to delegate all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So my to-do list doesn't get super crazy overwhelming to me, but I do make sure this is what has made my life manageable. Because other people externally see, and I'm not glorifying being busy. I really am not. Other people see my life and my daily schedule and what's going on that day, and they go, "Holy shit, are you okay? Like, how are you doing this?" I hear people tell me all the time, "I don't know how you do it," and I'm like, "I don't know that there's a choice," but I do. What saves me is that I do have a pretty well set time where I stop working for the day. That's usually around 3:30 or 4. I usually stop and I don't start again until 5. And that's when I start dinner. So I do take that hour and a half. I could take a hot bath. I could go outside and lay in the sun and read a book. I can scroll mindlessly. Yeah. Scroll mindlessly on social media. Some days all I can manage to do is watch TikTok for half an hour. But I do clock out in my brain of my duties for the day. Even if Alex comes and says, "Hey, can you order this for me? Hey, did you call this?" I will make a note of it to be added to the next day's to-do list, but it's not negotiable to me. I need to decompress. Mm-hmm. And then in the evening, I make dinner. Sometimes we discuss things over dinner that I need to go handle that are urgent. But other than that, we have family time after dinner. If the kids are over for dinner, or right now Gabby's home from school for summer, we watch a movie together, we play a game, we go for a walk, whatever we're doing is our family time. If it's just Alex and I, then it's our couple time. And I might finish up a couple other things before bed, but that's it. Like I really, for the majority, kind of clock out in my brain around 3:30. And that's also when my assistant leaves for the day. So when she arrives and when she leaves are like, my brain shifts into go work mode. And then she says, "Okay, are we done for the day?" And I say, "Yep, we're done for the day." And we are done for the day. So that is important to me.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Boundaries are very important, especially more people now than ever working from home, and they do not know boundaries sometimes. And so you got to do that and allow yourself the time to figure out what you want to do, because if you don't allow yourself the time to be a human being, then it's never going to happen. You have to actually carve it out and be it's a non-negotiable thing. Like when I started working out more, I knew that it was going to take a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy. And it's after it became a habit, because I had to train myself to say it's okay to do this. And then I had to train the people around me to know that this is now a priority for me. And they had to understand that this was also happening. And then it became a habit. And now it's like a non-negotiable, and that's like, the amount of time that I take is a good chunk amount of time to where I feel like that's a good legit amount of time where I could have taken that time and driven to a Starbucks and scrolled on my phone. It doesn't matter. That's my time that I've carved, and they all now know. That's like the other thing is you have to let also your environment know, I'm going to start being a human being now. I'm going to learn how to play the ukulele. And from this time to this time, you're going to hear it. And don't ask me to do anything, because you have to be dedicated to the idea of becoming a human being if you are currently not one.
I agree. And when it comes to exercise and working out, it's one of those things, and I'm bad at this. I'll tell you right now, I used to be on a schedule. I'd go to kickboxing 3 times a week, but since COVID, I've totally fallen off of it. When our kids are in a sport or doing an activity, like if it's dance class, soccer, basketball, whatever it is, we take them with that time is designated for their exercise activity. And that is what you are doing. And you don't say, oh, you know what? I don't feel like it today.
No, you don't.
And if they're like, I don't really want to go today, we'd give them a discussion about how they made a commitment and their team is counting on them. And why don't we do that for ourselves? Why don't we show up for ourselves in the same way?
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's rough.
And it's not, well, you can't use the excuse, well, you throw money at a gym membership and you never go to it, or you throw money at a trainer and you always cancel because so-and-so. It's like, it's the same thing. You just got to look at it that way. And so it's important to also let your environment know, if they're used to you just being a straight human doing, that you're going to try this human being thing out again. And it's been like a long time since you've done it. And it's going to make everybody else happier when you're a human being. Because you can't tell me that when you clock out at 3:30 versus clocking out at like 8:30 at night, that you are now a better human and you just show up better for everybody, including yourself. But everyone will benefit if you take that time to become a human being again,
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed is that, like, when the kids were growing up and I would get home from work at like 5:30 and I would rush to get dinner on the table in half an hour and feed them. And I was just literally, what do I have that's fast? Like, what can I get them? They're hungry. I just got home, or I'd pick up something on the way home. And I had always loved cooking. It's one of the things that was my favorite thing to do when we were on vacation, is to cook these elaborate meals or for holidays and things like that. And then it became a chore. It became oh my God, I got to feed these people again. What can I do? I'm exhausted. And so as they got older into like teenage years and I had more time, that was one thing that I really wanted to go back to loving again, is cooking. And I wanted to go beyond mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. I wanted to like cook food again. And so I did take like home chef classes at a culinary school. And one of the things, besides learning like a lot about cooking, and I felt like I was already an okay cook, I learned a lot about like the science of cooking. But more importantly, I learned that when you are cooking in a professional kitchen like that, cooking is the only thing you're doing. You're not also on the phone. You're not also on the computer. You're just cooking. I mean, if you're a chef, you're just being a chef that time that you're there. So clocking out in my brain at 3:30 or 4 o'clock allows me to have some time to kind of switch modes. And then around 5 o'clock, I usually turn on music in the kitchen. I like to cook to music. And I get all my stuff out and I have everything pre-prepared, just like you would in a chef's kitchen. So I'm not stressing out, I'm not rushing. And I just cook a meal, like whatever I planned on cooking that day. It's not rushed. I take my time. I'm enjoying the process again, where I hadn't for years. And we're eating way better, healthier. And, eating at home is always healthier, but I'm also really plant forward in the way that I cook. But I'm just taking the time to actually be present in that process. And it's something that I enjoy doing, that I've kind of reclaimed for myself, that went from being a chore to being something I actually enjoy.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's like something very important to remember, that you can also rediscover, like we talked about, rediscover things that you always loved or wanted to try or loved at one point, but then kids or stuff got in the way and you want to, because Yeah, you're right. Cooking for people every day and they all are like whining about what they want. Like it really can like suck the joy out of cooking,
And if
you
you've
know?
ever spent 30 to 40 minutes making a meal just to have nobody eat it or
Oh,
everybody
complain
complain
about
about
it,
it,
be mad, and yeah, it's the worst.
and you're like, why even bother? Like I didn't even want to make this. I'm not even hungry. Why am I? Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time, right? I can
Yeah.
totally I'm now like hearing this. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally want to rediscover a love. I didn't really love, I'm more of a baker than a cooker, but
Mhm.
I also am only a baker because that's just like something I'm slightly better at. I think cooking is, like you said, there is a science to cooking. And I think that like once kids are gone, like that could totally be something I would embrace and want to like take on, because then you have the time to really like, yeah, I can't have music on. Somebody will hit someone and I need to hear that in the
Yeah.
next room. Like I can't enjoy that like you can. So that's totally inspiring. That's
Well,
cool.
and I'd been used to cooking, right, for a big family.
Yeah.
So relearning how to cook just for Alex and I, and figuring out what we enjoy eating and what I enjoy cooking, and going to the farmer's market and getting ingredients. It's a time intensive
Very
process,
time consuming.
but I've made
Fun
that time
hobby.
because it's important for our health. It's important for us as a couple to actually sit down at the table and have a meal together most evenings. So before COVID, we were eating out a lot, way more than we should have been. So during COVID, I also had more time to do that, and it's something that I found that I really enjoy. So I couldn't do that if I didn't clock out and give myself that time to switch modes.
To put on your chef's hat, because that's
Right.
all they're doing. They're not doing all the other things you are also doing. So you cannot expect to do that.
Yeah. What would have happened if I don't have that time in my head to clock out is that I would look at the clock and realize, oh my God, it's already 5:30. And I would run down the stairs and I would look what's frozen that I can just heat up. Like, and that's not
You've
good.
already taken the joy out of the cooking. And
Yeah.
so the point has already been squashed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So okay, the next item on the list is to cool down. And the analogy that she's using here is at the end of, if you take yoga classes, at the end of yoga practice, you usually do, I think it's called the Shavasana or the corpse pose, where you just like lay basically in silence. And you just take that time. It's like 2 to 5 minutes most of the time. I have to admit that when I'm doing a yoga video, I love doing yoga videos on Amazon Prime. They're free, and there's some really good ones on there. And I have a big TV in my gym, so I will turn on a yoga video and roll out my mat and do some stretches. But I skip this part. I just, as soon as she says we're doing that, I turn it off because I'm like, I don't benefit from it. And that's not true. You totally benefit from it. I think, okay, I'm not burning calories. I'm not stretching. I'm done. But there is such a benefit to just having time in your day that you're not trying to fall asleep, that you're being still, that you're literally just being still, present in the moment. You could be laying outside on the grass. You could be laying on your yoga mat. You could be sitting. I love to sit outside in the sun. Just taking a few minutes where you're just like slowing down your body and being still. And I don't think very many people do that every day or on a regular basis, unless they're actually trying to fall asleep. But
No,
I think it's,
no, we're no, I've, I know I accidentally do it when I'm like at the park and Kenzie just wants to lay up and look at the clouds and look for shapes. And I notice that like I can hear the birds and like I can like feel the sun on my face. And it's like I haven't felt those senses like and been moment and been present in knowing that I'm feeling those senses since I was a little kid when you
kids
would just
naturally,
sit and do
yeah,
nothing. When as adults, we just the next
fill
thing after the
every
next thing.
moment. We must fill
Every
every moment.
millisecond. And heaven forbid if you're laying on the grass and feeling the sun hit your face and listening to the birds for more than 2 minutes, you naturally just start to feel panic
Guilty.
or
Yeah.
anxiety. And it's gone. Like the joy, like believing in Santa. It's gone forever being able to just be still. And it's like because I was aware that I was noticing those things, and then I was aware that I hadn't been aware that I had noticed those things in so long, that I made a point in that moment that I was like, I'm just going to do this more because I just want to be like aware that I'm alive, even if it's just for a minute. I just want to be like connected with the fact that I'm alive, and that's my purpose for that moment, not to go do or go see or go think or go here, but just to like, this is all that I need to do, and
Yeah.
that's enough,
Kids naturally do this,
Yeah.
and we somehow lose it as we get older. But if you think about the vacations in your life that you've taken, the times when you felt most refreshed, recharged, relaxed are usually vacations where you're either laying on the beach, laying on a pool chair, just being still and enjoying the birds, the
all
oceans,
that. Totally.
feeling the sun.
That's
Or
what life's all about, is like
yeah,
none of this other things.
or you're camping and you're laying in a hammock and you're listening to the mountain sounds. The times that we think of as vacation are times where we're allowing ourselves to be still, but there's no rule that it has to happen. Only we can go and spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes a day being still in our own environment. You don't have to go away to do that. That is literally free everywhere.
It is free, and it is okay. And it's a sin that we rip that from ourselves, like naturally, like from the first moment that we have the first bill that comes into our life, we're like, oh, I'm a grown up now. I can't, and there's no time to be alive anymore. I just go, 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 go all the time. Even when we're sitting, even when my kids are doing sidewalk chalk, like I'm not just in that moment. I'm also like, what do I need to, like, I'm thinking about stuff that I need to do when we're done with that moment. I'm not allowing myself to be in that moment ever.
Right.
And so I totally love this one because it's so important, because we just we disconnect from the world, and we never return to it, and we need to return to it, even if it's just for a minute every day, to remind ourselves that like we're alive and we're a person.
I like to take my dog sometimes to walk around this lake that's near my house. And it's a very popular place for people to walk their dogs, ride their bikes. And every time I go, I notice that there are always older people, senior citizens, who are sitting on the benches that face the lake. And they're literally they're not on their phones. They're not scrolling. They have no headphones on. They're just sitting and looking at the lake. And every time as I'm, rushing by with my crazy dogs, I'm thinking how nice that looks. But there's nothing stopping me from doing that.
Yeah.
I can
we're
totally
all on
do
the other
that.
side going, man, I wish I could do that, when we're looking at our kids doing it.
Mhm.
Or, it's always the people that just came into the world, or the people that are on their way out of the world, so to speak, that are really living, because like we don't know what we're doing in the middle. We're just like chaotic messes.
Fast
And they're just
forward.
watching us going like, why are they doing this? Like, they're missing the ducks. The ducks are awesome. Like, it's so true, and it's like they get it, and we somehow lost the message in between. And then we get to revisit the message, because the chaos leaves the coop in our life, and we're left with just ourselves, and we get to realize that like, oh, none of that was actually worth anything. Really, this is what life is. So you have to allow yourself to and be that guy on the bench that's looking at the lake and the ducks. Like,
That guy's onto something, man.
he's onto something. And you gotta, like, that doesn't mean just like sit there and be like, I'm here. You have to like turn your brain off too. You have to
listen to the sound of the wind in the trees, listen to the birds, watch the ducks doing their little thing. There are some older guys that go to the lake and they bring these like model boats and they race them around the lake. I think that's so fun to sit and watch. I wish the dogs would let me, but they're so excited about all the ducks and the geese that they pull me around that lake at full speed.
My kids love cloud shapes. Cloud shapes are like where it's at. You have to really sit there and like,
you have to focus on the clouds. Yeah.
On the clouds. And then you're like, you've been there for a minute and you realize like, oh, this is better than anything I was on my list anyway. Like, what do I need to go do that for? So
yeah, because you always feel better when you do stuff like that. So the last thing on the list is to schedule fun. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive because fun is supposed to be spontaneous, but you don't have to schedule necessarily a specific activity every day, because forced fun is rarely actually fun. But scheduling yourself downtime, scheduling yourself moments of levity in the day, and if you have a particularly challenging day ahead of you and you look at your to-do list and there's some really things you're dreading doing on there, it helps if you have something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So even if you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to be done for the day at this time, and I'm going to listen to this, book on tape that I'm really enjoying, or I'm going to watch this show that I love. I'm going to watch a couple episodes of this show that I absolutely find hilarious. And then it's going to shake the day off, or it could be anything. You go for a walk. You could, color in adult coloring book. I don't care what you do, whatever you find that's fun for you. And it's like a reward.
Make sure it's in there.
Yeah. You have to make sure that there's time for that, because if you don't schedule it, it's the thing that will get pushed back every time.
Mm-hmm.
The same with, self-care always gets pushed back. But if it's something that isn't a to-do list item for you, and that is something that you just really enjoy, it's sad that we have to kind of trick ourselves into doing the things that we enjoy. But if you get through your day, then you absolutely deserve to reward yourself. You absolutely deserve to do the thing that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we should feel guilty about that. And I don't think it's something that we should postpone or say, I don't have time for. We should always have time for ourselves. I don't see the benefit in thinking that we'll do it later, because
it'll also help you show up to all those things you have to do much better, because you show up feeling a bit more refreshed, a bit less like there's an elephant on your shoulders. I mean, it weighs you down having to do all these obligatory things day in and day out all the time, and not even thinking about yourself. Or say you work all the time and you don't even make time to go spend any of that money on yourself. Like you haven't bought yourself anything nice in forever, but yet you're the one showing up to work all the time. It's like, you got to allow yourself some joy every now and then.
Yeah.
It'll also allow you to show up for the things that you find super important at the moment better, because you blew off some steam a little bit, or you went and did something, or, bought something, whatever it is, that's just going to like bring you spark a little joy.
I always tell my husband that, because he started working in his early 20s when they came to this country from Iran. And it was a pretty difficult situation for his family. And he worked 6 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day until just, a few years ago. So, and he didn't ever have a hobby. He missed all of the things with his kids growing up. He missed all the holidays. He missed all of it. And he never allowed himself to do anything for himself that was fun. So even all of the, trips that he would take were basically work trips. So I don't tease him, but I always tell him that he was so busy making a living that he didn't make a life. And he's trying to make up for that now, but it's hard to do that when when you get older and you can't do a lot of the things that you wish you had done when you had time to do them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, he is 20 plus years older than me. So I'm trying to learn from the example that he, the regrets that he has, so that I don't make the same mistakes, because you only have so much time, and you really need to prioritize the things that make you happy, and make sure that you have that balance in your life, because it can't just be about work. It can't just be about caretaking. There has to be some slice of the pie that's for you.
Yeah, totally. And it's going to feel, I can end this by saying, like, it's going to feel weird at first, and it's going to feel like abnormal and not right. And you're going to feel selfish and guilty, but then you're going to realize, like, it's going to click one day that you're like, why on earth did I ever feel selfish or guilty about this? And why did I wait so long to start this? Because I have literally let everybody else run all parts of my life. And now I am just like, when I started to feel like the robot from the Jetsons, when like my whole purpose was just to serve others all the time, and I had no other purpose but to serve literally others, that I was like, no more. Like, I gotta do something that's just for me, so I don't feel like my whole purpose on this planet is just to do things for everyone else, and like it rips you of your happiness, and you gotta take that back. And it's gonna feel weird and unnatural at first, but then you're gonna realize that, like, you were not treating yourself very well for a really long time, and you deserve better.
Yeah, we should all be our best friends, our own best friends. And if we would give whatever advice that we would give to our very best friend, that's feeling run down, that's feeling overwhelmed, that's feeling overscheduled, we need to take that advice for ourselves. We're usually much kinder to others than we are to ourselves. And it should be the other way around, or at least it should be equal. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person that you live with for your whole life. that's it. I mean, you are the person who you're left with. So it's very important that we take care of our relationship with our own selves, and we put as much value on it as we do with our relationships with anyone else in our lives, because we're in it for the long haul. We can't escape ourselves. It's just, it's you, you know,
if you don't, if you think that you can just like do it for a while, you'll burn out.
You'll burn out. You'll build resentment. You'll end up having a lot of regrets. So I can't stress this enough. It's very important that we all practice being human beings. Yeah. It's a weird thing to say, but
yeah.
Very
true. Well, good topic.
I think so. Hopefully we helped some people. I know this is going to be a good reminder for me. I still have a ton of stuff to do today, but I'm definitely going to try to schedule something fun.
Right.
And it's been a heavy last couple of days for me with some pretty intense meetings and appointments. So I am hoping that I'll be able to find something to kind of reward myself for sticking through it today, do something fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I did yesterday. I can't say that. Gabby and I went and got massages last night.
Oh, good. But
we haven't.
But the stress is now back on.
Mm-hmm. We haven't been to our local massage place since before COVID. So this was the first time that we were back. So
some stuff to work out there.
But you know what? The only reason I went was because Gabby had a migraine and I thought it would help her. I didn't do it for my own self. But once I was there, I was like, why do I not do this?
Hello, you do need
I could do this whenever I want. Why don't I do it?
2020. Get those knots out of you.
Yeah, but why do I have to wait until
someone else has like a problem for you to go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Retrain the brain.
Exactly. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. I'm being reformed, workaholic reformed. That's what we're trying to do.
Yep.
So, well, it was nice talking to you as always. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate your support always. We love that you guys are enjoying the podcast and coming back from week to week. So please, if you are enjoying this podcast, tell a friend. We appreciate any support we get from all of our readers and listeners. And you can join the Facebook discussion group if you guys want to talk about this on your own. We will have an article on this topic coming out, so you definitely don't want to miss that. It'll be on the homepage, so you guys can read the writer's take on this subject as well. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to bookmark our site, she'safullonmonet.com, and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're enjoying this podcast, it helps us a lot if you can follow, rate, and review. See y'all next week.